has never been a better time to be alive. We as humanity are going to see more changes in healthcare than we have ever seen in the last decade, or I would say last century. This is the first time there is a confluence of exponential technologies that is going to allow us to solve the problem that has been vexing the humanities for decades. I am absolutely convinced that in our lifetime, we will be able to absolutely get rid of cancer. So let me just tell you what is it that we are doing at Viome to actually create a world where being sick is truly a matter of choice. So we started Viome, and just by the way, I can't pronounce the word Viome. That's V as in Victor, IOME. Viome, the fundamental mission of Viome was imagine living in a world where being sick is truly a matter of choice, not a matter of bad luck. And what I meant by that was very simply to solve this problem, if we can digitize the human body at a molecular level and understand every single biochemical activities that are happening in the body, and then use AI to be able to understand what is causing the onset of a chronic disease and what is causing the progression of a chronic disease, and that includes cancer and aging. Won't we be able to understand what is going on and what makes people sick? So you wonder, if these technologies are around, then why are people still suffering? And I think the main reason I find is that most companies, until Viome came about, were focused on asking the wrong questions. Now imagine the whole industry has been so focused on understanding the DNA or human genes. Well, it turns out your human genes don't actually change when you develop a chronic disease. So let's look at an example. So I do my DNA test today, and God forbid, in a year, I gain 400 pounds. My DNA is still going to be the same. Now I develop diabetes. Now I develop heart disease. Then I have a depression and anxiety and Alzheimer and every known disease to man. And my DNA still hasn't changed. And now I die. Guess what? Even after I die, my DNA doesn't change. That means your genes can't even tell you you're dead or alive, let alone you are healthy or sick. If your genes are not changing, what is actually changing? Well, it turns out it is your gene expression that is always changing. And we are the first company in the world that actually measures human gene expression, and that is mRNA and non coding RNA. So we look at all RNAs in the human body, and we don't stop there. Because the second thing that is really crucial to our health is our microbiome. And it's not just about your gut microbiome, but also your oral microbiome. Now, most people who may not know about microbiome, our microbiome outnumber human cells by a many, many fold. When it comes to gene expression, in fact, 99% of all the genes that are expressed in the human body are not our own. These are not the genes that we get from our mom and dad. These are the microbial genes that are expressed in our gut. A large majority of them live in our gut. Now, there is a clear signs, and you can Google, by the way, pick any disease you want: Parkinson's and microbiome, Alzheimer and microbiome, depression, anxiety, and obesity, diabetes. You pick a disease you want, including every type of cancer, is now directly connected to our microbiome. In fact, so much so, even the efficacy and toxicity of the treatment for cancers like immunotherapy, it depends on your microbiome. In fact, there was a research that was recently published where we took the patients who had melanoma and gave them immunotherapy. About 70% of the people where the immunotherapy did not work, all they did was change their microbiome through fecal transplant, and the same therapy started working. Now, what we're doing at Viome is to actually analyze your gut microbial activities, all the human gene expression using stool and blood, and very soon we are adding saliva, so we'll be also looking at oral microbiome. Once we have done that, then comes the magical part. Then we actually understand exactly what is happening in your body, and based on what's happening in your gut and in your blood, we are able to tell you these are exactly the foods that you should eat and why. Here are the foods you should avoid and why. For example, for me, when I did the test about 2 years ago, it told me that You should not be eating broccoli and cabbage and Brussels sprout because your sulfide production in your gut is too high, and sulfide is causing inflammation. And the substrate that this pathway needs is sulfate that is coming from broccoli, cabbage, and Brussels sprout. Same type of thing. It says don't eat spinach because your oxalate pathway is not very highly active, and that means that oxalate that is very high in spinach is going to harm you. I was eating a lot of protein. It told me that your ammonia production is too high, your protein fermentation pathway is too active, and that means now you have two choices: take the digestive enzyme with your food or cut down the protein. And now it's interestingly, so we can tell you exactly what foods are good for you right now. And as your body changes, as your gut microbiome changes, which by the way change every 4 to 6 months, if you change your diet. If you don't change your diet and if you don't change your environment, it stays largely the same when it comes to functions. And by looking at the gut microbial activities, we can constantly fine tune your diet. The next part was what nutrients are lacking in your body. So we actually tell you after analyzing your body that you need 22 milligram of amylase, you need 19 milligram of elderberry, you need 27 milligram of berberine, you need 22 milligram of curcumin. And we literally make those capsules for every vitamins, minerals, herbs, food extract, digestive enzymes, amino acids, probiotics, prebiotics, everything that your body needs. We make them on demand for you and ship it to you every month. And as your body changes, we keep adjusting the formula every month. If you want to do test every month, we adjust them every month and keep shipping it to you. Remember, there is no pre-made stuff. It is made for you on demand robotically. And then by taking all this massive amount of data, and now we have over 300,000 people that have actually benefited from our consumer test. And then based on that, we understand what is causing people to be sick. And in fact, we just received the FDA breakthrough device designation that allows us to detect stage one, the earliest possible cancer in oral cancer and throat cancer. And now we're going to be extending that to pancreatic cancer, breast cancer, all the GI cancers, and the head, neck, shoulder cancers. And we're going to be launching our first cancer detect program in January. So you should be able to take advantage of that and actually discover if you have any history of smoking, vaping, or you are more than 50 years old. This is a test that you'll be able to buy in January for yourself. Based on all the knowledge, we are able to now predict, are you moving towards a particular disease or not? And we can do this for 30 different diseases. We can, in fact, even after you have a disease, we can tell you which drug is going to work for you or which drug is not. And we published our first paper on diabetes. We can tell you when you have a diabetes if metformin is going to work or not work. And people always ask, how do you know that your diet and supplements are actually working? The good thing about our thing is it's no longer based on faith. We actually give you the scores: your immune health, your cellular health, your mitochondrial health, your gut health, your biological age. And every time you do follow the diet, you can see the changes. In fact, we just published the research that shows the people who follow our diet and supplements just for 4 months, their depression score, clinical score measured by PHQ-9, went down by 38%. Their anxiety clinical score measured by GAD-7 went down by 32%. Their diabetes came down by 30% measured by HbA1c. And most importantly, the IBS, 15% of the population suffers from IBS. That score came down by 40% measured by IBS SSS. Now, we in fact understand the mechanism of action for many of the diseases. And the interesting part of that is now we are developing vaccines and drugs for the diseases that has never been a cure. The first one we announced is actually a vaccine for an autoimmune disease that attacks your joints. And I'm hoping that will be the first time, instead of simply suppressing the symptom, we'll be able to cure the disease. And now we just announced last week a second thing on cancer, a vaccine or a drug molecule for cancer to prevent the cancer from happening and also from actually reversing the cancer once that has already happened, to actually kill the tumor rather than simply suppress the symptoms of the diseases. Now, our hope really is that one day we will never have to have any diagnostic test, any test for therapeutics because the prevention would work. So I really believe that, technology that is allowing us to solve these problems, which is the digitization of human body, and then using the massive amount of computing power to actually take these gene expressions to understand what molecules are being produced, and then using the AI to be able to deduce what exactly that your body needs, the what nutrients your body needs for it to be healthy. So I really believe one day we're going to make it true what Hippocrates said 2,500 years ago, which is all diseases begin in the gut. Let food be thy medicine, let thy medicine be the food. And just remember, one man's food is another man's poison. So I hope that gives you a fairly good idea about that we are really the luckiest people in this, to be living in this time, because we actually now even understand what causes us to age. And I think we published a paper, not I think, we did publish a paper in Cell, which is on biological aging. That means we analyze about 100,000 people, and we can now tell you how well you are aging internally compared to your chronological age. Just to give you an idea, I'm obviously a believer in my own. My chronological age is 62, and it turns out that actually my biological age is now 53. So I have actually reversed my age by 9 years, and I'm really hoping by the time I'm 70, my biological age will come down to 40. And that is really the type of things I think we can all be proud of. And one day together, if we can all join together to actually help ourselves, we can literally make illness optional. And one day we will all be living in a world where we don't have to watch our loved ones suffer from any chronic diseases, cancer. And we actually, in terms of aging, actually increase our health span. That means as long as we live, we're going to live healthy as opposed to suffer through the last decades of our life. So with that, I'm going to actually stop here and see if you have any questions.